Yo. I'm here now, waiting for, I guess just me so far. Waiting for Linda Barto, maybe Dajas Dreamland. Chilling on backyard. It's the first video I've ever made in my backyard, I guess you would say. And we're just going to talk about today, how do we get more people to read? So, we're all authors. Not every single person on planet Earth, obviously, but yo, keep it down. I'm recording the video. Be quiet. Kids, you two want to say hi? To nobody. What's up? What's up? So, we're trying to increase readership. I don't know, it's like a whole party back here right now. Not literally and actually a party, but it's low-key turning out to be a party right now with everyone back here. Wanted my son to get some fresh air, see his little friend next door. But, I don't know. They're playing. I'm just going to focus. So, why read more? I feel like the first option to read more is one, it increases your options. If you're already not a strong reader, then the prospect of you going to college, of you finishing college and getting like a career that you're actually going to enjoy is way lower than you could possibly imagine, because the majority of the work in college, no matter what your field of study is, you're going to have to read the work of somebody else, and it's not going to be entertaining. It's not going to be fun. It's not going to be books that have space adventures or piracy or adultery or anything like that in it. It's going to be just straight up nonfiction, page after page, line after line after line after line of hardcore freaking fiction. I mean, nonfiction. So if you're not an avid reader or an adept reader, avidly meaning that you read very frequently, very consistently, and adept meaning that you read above, like, let's say you read above a 10th grade level, like you read at a level that you should be reading as an adult. Right now, we have a major issue in the world, not just with Black people, because everyone consists, every issue that Black people have it, like we're getting ready for a genocide or a Holocaust or something. I'm gonna say hi.
Hi.
Hi to the people. Hi to America.
Hi.
I can't see you.
Hi.
What's your name?
My name is Aiden.
Why is it important to read?
Nice. Yeah.
You know how to read?
Hi. Not much.
Would you like to learn how to read? Do you think reading will help you out in life? You hope so?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, hopefully I get to talk to some people today about how we increase readership. Worst comes to worst, honestly, I'll probably just conduct the meeting by myself. Because I'm good at that type of shit. But I would say first and foremost, the best way to start reading more would be just to find books that you enjoy. A lot of people only read their specific genre, you know, nothing else. So you don't have to worry about them reading things that they don't enjoy. You don't really have to worry about them reading things that they don't understand, because people are pretty good at staying inside of their personal wheelhouse of what they feel personally comfortable in. So if you start doing that, then you're going to be golden. Quite honestly, you're going to be golden. You're not going to struggle to figure out what you should read. You're not really going to have to struggle to figure out what other people are reading, because you're already going to have a great idea of what it is that brings you a sense of enjoyment. Now, if you don't know what kind of genre you enjoy reading, you're probably in the best position that you can be in, because that means that you're wide open to any genre. You have no idea what you're going to enjoy. You have no idea what you're not going to enjoy. So a lot of your reading experiences, I guess your early reading experiences, let's put it like this, you're entering into June. So if you plan to read a book a week, you got about waiting for Dajas to join. Hey, how's everything? Or Deja, sorry. How's everything?
Can
So
you hear me?
I can hear you now. I can't see you though.
Hold on.
Waiting for Linda.
Alrighty.
Hey, how's everything? Good to see you.
Good to see you too.
Great, great. So I was just bringing the video in, just talking about benefits of reading. Low key waiting on Linda right now. I don't know what's going on with her, but if you'd like to introduce yourself to anyone that might see the video, feel free.
My name's Daja. I'm a fictional author. I dibble and dabble in all types of fiction. I've been writing since I'm, 20 years. Published for 3.
Amazing. How many books have you gotten done so far?
Published, I have 3. Work in progress, that's done. I have 4.
Yeah, it usually works out that way. It's always a lot of stuff in the barrel. That's good though. Just focus on what you're doing.
Yeah.
Do you think that you get a lot of time to read with your schedule?
Well, I make time to read. So I'm a nurse. I'm a CNA. So like with my downtime, I'll read. At home, I'll read. So I make time to read. And then believe it or not, a lot of people in my field, they read. So
Yeah. I was gonna say, if a nurse can find time, nurses are probably some of the busiest people that work a 9 to 9 job most time. You guys work up to 12 to 14 hours. So if a nurse
yeah, I
can find time to read,
predominantly work 15 hours
wow.
per
How
day.
do you put aside the time to read then for people that don't?
I put aside the time, like I'll read on my lunch break, I'll read on my regular break. I'm in long-term care, so after my residents sleep, I literally have an hour to an hour and a half to myself at the end of my shift. So I read during that time.
That's good. That's good. Do you see reading as a priority or is it just a hobby? Is it something you enjoy?
It's just a hobby for me, and I've been doing it since I've been little. So it started out as enjoyment to, you know, escape, stress and stuff like that. But now it turns into like a self-learning. So when I'm reading, I'm like, okay, what is the lesson of this story? Or I'll get self-help books, and it helps me improve.
It's personal development for you.
Yep.
That's good. You mentioned you start reading as an early age. Something, as again, for people that don't know, the topic of the conversation is how do we increase readership? How do we get more people to read? And it's usually kids. I got my son and my neighbor back here right now. My neighbor's 6, my son's 2. It's usually around that age that kids first learn the ability to read. A lot of kids don't start reading at 2 or 5 though. They don't start reading until about 7 or 8. And then when they start reading at about 7 or 8, it's something that's institutionalized. It's something that's done, I guess what they feel is a form of punishment. They're doing it in school, and they don't have that type of early enjoyment. Do you have any kids or any nieces or nephews? Do you like help them read? Do you introduce your kind of work to them?
So I have a 4-year-old, soon to be 5-year-old daughter. My daughter loves to read. She'll pick up a book and read. I've been reading to her since she was little. So I believe it starts at the home.
Absolutely.
If you want your child to read and learn, you start from there. And then not only that, a lot of kids now, they go on YouTube. They have the books right on YouTube. So let YouTube read to them. And that'll pick the interest for reading.
That's extremely true. We just get Linda in as well. So give her a second to connect. That's amazing. How did you teach your 4-year-old to read?
It's the rhyming and mechanisms of the books. So she likes the pictures and stuff. You got to figure out what they're interested in, and then buy a book that aligns with it.
That's exactly what I was saying. Still giving Linda a little time to connect. It's exactly what I was saying beforehand. I guess I was focused more on like adult readers, is that if you're an adult that doesn't really like to read, the best thing that you can do is find your genre, find what kind of content you like to read. And if you don't have any type of content or any specific genre that you enjoy, you're in the best position because you can read any and everything and you're going to find enjoyment. What's up, Linda? How you doing? Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt your sip of coffee.
Hello, everybody. Sorry I was late. Wasn't it originally at 5?
I mean, I completely missed the meeting last week, so let's put that on me.
Yeah.
I'll take responsibility for that. Yo, get down, both of you. Sorry, I'm like low-key babysitting, high-key I'm recording this. How's your day so far, Linda?
Alhamdulillah, it's fine.
Masala. Absolutely. So we're getting talking right now. Daja's speaking a bit about her experiences with her child, teaching her daughter how to read and the importance to her to reading. Linda, do you get a lot of time to read?
I do read a little every day.
Would you say that reading is a priority for you? Or is it like a hobby?
Well, I'm Muslim, and the very first word in the Quran that was revealed was read. So reading is not just a mind exercise, it's also a spiritual exercise in Islam. And the Quran repeatedly tells us to think and ponder. So we have to read and get various ideas from reading and also from nature and science. So reading is very important in my religion. And I think it's also a good health exercise because whenever you read, you exercise your brain. And having a healthy brain is important to having a healthy overall physical experience.
Absolutely. 1000%. And I love that you say it's the religion itself. It's the idea of the Quran and Islam itself that encourages reading, but I feel encourages education within itself. You know, if you look at the eastern part of the world, education is probably one of the top priorities. When you look at American citizenship, education is only linked to money. You know, you're only really advocated to gain education in something that's going to pay you a lot of money. It's not really a personal life practice. It's not really something that we take home with us. If you're not a doctor, a lawyer, an engineer, your educational experience isn't valued as much as, say, if you studied sociology or studied psychology or something like I did. People don't really look to read in America unless we're reading fiction books, unless we're reading for entertainment, or we're reading books that were recently turned into movies to better understand what the movie was about. How do you think, as we're here today, we have everyone now, how do we really encourage people to read more?
Well, for me, the way that I encourage people is I lead by example. So when they're talking about something, interesting, it's always something somebody's going to talk about that's piquing their interest or that's so passionate about. And there's always a book related to that. So you just want to let them know about a book that's related to that, and they'll go from there.
Hi.
My son's saying hi.
Hello.
What's up? Sorry, we're kicking in the backyard. That's a really great point. I feel like leading by example is definitely going to be top priority. Hey, what's up? How you doing, little princess? 4-year-old reader. That's amazing. Reading before you go to kindergarten.
Well, here they have pre-K, so she's in pre-K.
Oh, cool. Does pre-K help as well?
Yeah.
Okay. So I thought they just went over like letters and colors. I didn't know they were actually teaching kids how to read in preschool now.
So her teacher, they give them books that is not required, but I put emphasis on it. So I read to her, but when I'm reading to her, I'm reading in like funny voices and stuff to make her laugh, and that makes her want to read.
I feel like that's like a major aspect of what's missing is that as a parent, you're taking the priority and you're taking the initiative in leading your child's education instead of just leaving it on the educational system. Again,
Let's start at home. You can't, the school is only going to teach a curriculum. You want your child to know finances, you need to teach them that. You want your child to know manners, you need to teach them that. Like, your child looks up to you. They're not looking up to the teacher. They're looking up to you because they're with you all the time. So teach them at a young age, between the ages of 9 months, or not even 9 months, 11 months to 4 to 5, and it'll sink and stay with them.
And it's
That's
getting
the very crucial ages you need to be instilling in whatever you want to teach your child because they're going to stay with that.
that's a major priority for me too. My son's turning 2 now, but he's learning how to read. He can identify all his letters and numbers. And that was a big step that we had to really focus on and push with him because otherwise, a lot of black boys end up being far behind. By the time they get to the 4th grade, a lot of black boys are about 5 years behind in their education because once again, them going to school is the first time that they're ever learning this content. Instead of realizing your parents need to be going through all this with you at home, for you to go to school, school can reinforce the content. School is basically meant to teach you obedience. It's to teach your kids how to sit still. They'll babysit your kids for you for a few years. Other than that, you have to be leading your kids in the way you want them to go. As far as adult readers, Linda, how do you think that more adults can pick up books and learn how to read? Because with that kind of school concept, I see a lot of people graduate from college or they graduate from high school and their education stops completely. Do you have any thoughts of that? How can the adults read more?
I was thinking of what Daja was saying.
Respond to her
I
too, that's fine.
recall, I I recall when I was sitting in a doctor's waiting room, and this little boy started talking to me about the movie Jurassic Park. And I said, well, the movie was awesome, but did you read the book? Because the book was terrifying. And he said, how can the book be better than the movie? You can't even see the pictures. I said, you see the pictures in your mind. He says, you see pictures in your mind? You must be a crazy woman.
Yeah.
So I think we need to teach people how to visualize while they're reading. A lot of people don't know how to create pictures in their minds. And I teach martial arts, and when we're practicing techniques, I try to get people to visualize an imaginary opponent, and that seems so hard for them.
Because they can't
So
see it.
we need to teach children how to see pictures in their mind, how to visualize images, and be able to carry that into adulthood.
1,000%. There's a Masonic saying, give me a boy, and by the age of 7, I'll show you the man he'll become. And by the ages of 7, a lot of these kids, because of television and because of the high demand of it, like it's just, if you use like YouTube instead of using basic television, your kid is bombarded every 3 minutes, every 5 minutes, every hour with a brand new cartoon, with a brand new distraction. And even if your kid's sitting down watching Sesame Street isn't all that educational. You can't really rely upon a lot of these kids shows to educate your kids, to encourage your kids' imagination, to encourage your kids' creative growth, because they're honestly taking the majority of the work out simply by being like a visual form of media. A lot of the work that would go into what does this character look like? What is this character motivated by? You know, what it like Dajas said earlier, what's the moral of the story? What's the story trying to teach me? It's already gone by the time that the video is over or the TV show ends, or the TV show has nothing to do with education to begin with. So then the kid's education and the kid's imagination is only linked to things that are already created, which is an imagination. They can only imagine Steven Universe and different Steven Universe examples. They're no longer able to create their own characters and write their own books and stories. So a lot of young kids too, I would say around middle school and high school, they write fan fiction a lot because they don't have the ability to create their own characters in those exact same situations. You got to keep an eye on him because he's like by himself now. What are other things people do? Like, what are your earliest experiences with reading, Linda? You have a very different background.
Well, basically, the only books that I got were from school, and the little golden books. My mama made up stories to tell me. So just the stories themselves were important to me more than the books.
Do you remember when TV and radio started taking over?
Yeah, I remember the first TV we got when I was 5 years old. I was standing on my neighbor's porch, and a truck came to the house and carried a TV into the house. Of course, it was an old black and white TV because I was born in 1949.
God
So
bless it.
that was in the 50s.
Wow. Between the 50s and the 2000s, have you seen people reading more or people reading less? I mean, you can't really account for every single person that exists on the planet, but general practice, I would imagine that you would have to have found other ways to entertain yourself before the 40s versus now where you can just hop on the TV and you can sit in front of the TV the entire day.
Yeah, I think people will read much less because people have gotten used to being entertained instead of finding outlets for their own entertainment. And I'll tell a funny story. My daughter's first husband was dumber than a wheelbarrow full of dirt clods in the rain, and he was he was going he was having vision problems, and they thought he was going to go blind, and they wanted him to go to a school to learn Braille so he could read. And I asked her, why would he need to read when he's blind when he don't read now? And she said, of course he reads. He reads Facebook every day.
Wow. Facebook is the only book a lot of people read anymore.
Yes, it is.
That's I don't know, it kind of goes hand in hand too. And you see a lot of authors, the way that they promote their books as well. The entertainment aspect is heavy, the purchasing of the book aspect is not. And a lot of that work goes into entertaining people, trying to get people to like you. But I don't know, it doesn't really convert over to any real sense of value into what the authors can really bring people. Because we each know like dozens upon hundreds of authors that are creating content that could really help people. You alone, Linda, like write amazing books about the emergence of God, your experiences growing up. That I own two of your books, could really freaking transform people's perspective of Islam, change people's perspectives of God. But it's like on that topic alone, like Deja just said earlier, she made like a lot of amazing points. For every single situation that you find yourself in, there's a book correlated to it. And it just doesn't seem like, I don't know, it just doesn't seem like people are utilizing that aspect. You have so much of that fake guru culture right now. You have people that honestly think that they can learn everything off of YouTube, where you can't learn everything from an hour-long YouTube video, from a 14-minute long YouTube video. You can learn almost everything that you need on a subject from a textbook, though. You can learn almost everything that you need from a nonfiction or from a self-help book or from a personal finance book.
But coming from like, I was born in '93, so I can say growing up we didn't have, the internet like that when it did come in our house,
Yeah.
So a lot of people's schedules are busy. Like a lot of them are starting businesses. So audio for them, they're listening to the book. They don't, read it. They want to listen to it because it's like, okay, I can listen to this book on my way to work, or I can watch somebody reading the book to me, but it's still counting as me listening to it, and I can soak up in it while I'm moving around. I'm taking notes on my phone. So it's a difference now instead of being able to just sit down and read the book. If you're sitting down reading it, it's because you're trying to study it or you're doing it for pure enjoyment. But most people like audibles.
It's true. It's very true. I just got done making my first audiobook in post-production today, so I agree with that. I think more so the idea that I want to get at is opportunity cost of it all, is getting people to make that decision, whether it's an audiobook, whether they want someone to read for them, whether they want to read the book themselves and they choose a Kindle, or they take a month to read. How do we really get people to make the opportunity choice decision, an opportunity cost decision, to choose to sit down with a book instead of sitting down to watch cat videos or watching prank videos or watching whatever it is people are looking at? Either one of you can take that if you like.
What works for me is I just find, like I said, what interests them. They might be watching a cat video because they're going through something stressful. They don't want to read the book because they feel like, okay, just sitting there reading it. They can't tap into.
Your mic cut off. Your mic is off.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you now.
Hello?
I can hear you now. I'm sorry. It cut off at they might be going through something stressful.
Yeah, so for them reading the book, they can't imagine it because their mind is on something else. They're watching that cat video for relief. So they have to learn how to be imaginative. A lot of people go through a lot of stress and don't know how to be visual, like Linda was saying with the little kid. A lot of people are like that and they're adults. They don't know how to imagine. That's like with manifesting. A lot of people can't manifest or go after they want to because they can't imagine it. They're just so stuck on the noun. They can't let their mind just drift and imagine it because they're so stressed.
How do we? I don't know. That seems like you really hit the root of the problem with that. Is that a lot of people don't feel like the book itself or reading is going to solve their problem the same way that the quick fixes will do. Like, it's a lot easier to roll up a blunt and smoke weed than sit down and read a 700-page long book that has your specific problem. It's going to be a lot easier to turn to a form of entertainment constantly than to sit down and focus on a 250-page book. It's going to be a lot easier to have a conversation that reinforces the bad habits than to sit in solitude by yourself and figure out what the hell is going on. So I don't know. I think maybe that value for reading isn't shown at a very early age, or maybe the competition is just so deep between these other forms of media that reading a book has just become something that's very niche. I think reading has always been very niche. Not every single person on the planet has had literacy in their lives or been able to read. And oftentimes the balances of power are caused due to people with education and people without education. Do you think that the value for education versus the value for entertainment, do you think people have a bigger value for entertainment than for education?
Yeah, they don't see the worth in education. They see the worth in the entertainment. There's so many people that can pick up a book or educate themselves. They don't want to do that. Stop running around.
It's right there too.
I was looking for you.
You guys are looking for me this one.
Did you want to say something, Linda?
Yes, I think the reading level of people in the United States, most people, is pretty low. And one way to get people to read is to know how to write at a 5th or 6th grade reading level. In short, simple sentences. I recently rendered the entire Quran at a 5th grade reading level, which has never been done before. It took me 8 years. And adults are reading it. And there is a need for that in prisons because most inmates don't have high reading levels. So my books are in high demand in prisons because I don't write at a high reading level.
You two are blowing my mind right now. You two are just so on the pulse of what this problem is. It's like hearing the perspective. It's just, I'm not going to say the problem seems like it can be fixed for sure, definitely. But what you just stated, that most people are reading at a 5th or 6th grade reading level, I feel like there's some disconnection there between a student going from elementary school where reading and learning is fun and reading and learning is just, it's kind of your life at that point, to moving into middle school, moving into high school, where taking an English class for me in high school was optional. You didn't, after the age of, I would say about 14 or 15, you didn't have to take a reading class or take an English class at all. So you were done. To see that the level is like 5th or 6th grade that people are reading at, that means that a lot of the books that are written, books on personal finance, like Dajas said, books on psychology, books on how to have healthy relationships, those are obviously written at least like a high school or collegiate level that I have to imagine. So are people intimidated by reading? Is that a
I think
possibility?
some are. I think some are because my first book, The Bible and the Quran at the Edge of Renaissance, is written at a college level. And I had a lot of people tell me they couldn't get into it because the words were too hard.
I had that issue a lot. Like, I believe I told you and Omar Gonzalez my college experience, and I went through that firsthand quite a bit my freshman year. Is that there were certain books that I wanted to read to impress my professors or whatnot. I couldn't even get 2 or 3 pages into the book because the subject matter, because of the word choice, because of the way that the book was written, it was almost alienating. It was almost like the book didn't want to be read. I couldn't, I had no leeway of getting into it. I still have those books on my shelves to this day. I reread one about a year ago, and I couldn't understand why I was intimidated by it, but I was genuinely, I wouldn't say turned off. Like it was genuinely hard to read the book. Like I did not understand anything going on. Um, I don't know if it's fair to ask writers to write at a lower reading level, and I don't really know how to improve the reading level of people. So I feel like I'm kind of stuck mentally at that point there. Between Dajas saying that a lot of people are going through situations right now where I feel that a more therapeutic approach to life, like an audiobook, like watching, I guess, YouTube videos or watching movies, it takes away the stress a lot more that maybe reading can induce. I don't know. Do you have any other thoughts on the subject, Linda? Or Deja, either or? Because I really want to try to find like some way that we can get people to organize and read after this, or at least get the people that do read to take that leadership position and show people like, hey, I'm reading and I'm having a good time reading. Like I don't.
I, I I think the answer has to be to begin with the children, to give children books that stimulate their imagination, and the parents, like
That's what
Daja
Deja was
was
saying as
saying,
well.
read the children's books and put different voices in them, and most most parents don't know how to read out loud to make the books interesting. So people need to learn how to
I would agree.
act out the books for the children. And my granddaughter, she's 11 now, and she knows how to read a book and put emphasis in it and make her voice sound different and everything. So they like for her to read at school out loud because she makes the book entertaining. And when children see the books are entertaining, then they grow up with that mindset that books are going to entertain me.
Versus having to be the kid that's called out to read out loud at school. You're not really comfortable in your reading ability, and now you're traumatized for life because you had to read out loud to your class and you just didn't have. That's a really, both of you hit on that point of really focusing on getting kids to read, because I honestly feel like a lot of adults have already made their decision. How do we then get kids to read and then get children to continue reading until their adulthood? Because getting kids to read author, getting the kids to read children's books, that's not really the most difficult thing in the world. But how have either of you had to deal with kids transitioning into chapter books or kids transitioning into nonfiction books yet? Because my son's
My
2,
nephew.
my nephew's like 9. Go ahead, please.
So my nephew, he's a video gamer, but he's supposed to read. He's supposed to read different books. And it's breaking an arm and a leg. So what my sister and my brother-in-law does is, okay, you wanna play this video game or stuff? We're gonna do it as a reward system. Read this book. Tell me what you learned about this chapter book, and read it out loud.
I love
If
that.
you can't do that, then you can't get on the game.
I love that. I love that.
And
Versus,
then that was a system that worked. I don't know if too many libraries have it, but when I was little, we used to, in the summertime,
go to the library. So if you read a certain amount of books, like you got a prize, you got a pizza party and stuff. It's a reward system. They need more reward
Yeah,
system.
summer reading program. It was very, or Read Across America. I don't know. We had the exact same thing too in my neighborhood, but we had it again. Like it was an elementary school program. By the time we got to middle school or high school, those things didn't exist anymore. Unfortunately, so. But those are both amazing points. I think the first and foremost would be to stop treating reading as a form of punishment for children, because then they grow up their entire lives. What I hear from people anyway, they grow up with that trauma forever. Like the exact opposite is used. That I don't know. I don't know how to explain the thought, but I just love the way that you put it. The fact that reading is not the punishment, reading is the action. Reading is the practice necessary to get the rewards that you need in life. And that teaches them the perfect lesson, because that's the reality. The higher educated you are and the more that you're able to prove your education, the more money you're going to make, the better style of life and quality of life that you're going to have. You basically remove all your limitations when you're able to read at a depth level and show people that you can understand what you read. So I think that's absolutely brilliant that they do that. I don't know if there's a way. I know those programs in libraries for smaller kids. I don't think the three of us this year, maybe within the next coming years as the group expands, we might be able to, at our local libraries or local areas, how do we possibly get middle school kids or high school kids to continue reading? Because I feel like elementary schools they're fun, they're protected. I think once kids get to 5th grade and they start reading chapter books and only chapter books, as books start to lose pictures, as books start to lose the kind of cartoony aspect and they touch more in reality, do you have any ideas of how we can get 5th graders to continue reading in 6th grade? How to get 8th graders to continue reading in high school?
I would just say the reward system all the way through. That helped me even in college. We had book clubs in college. We had sit and read in college. We had book club in high school. Like I was never a school I went to that didn't have a book club. So
That's good. That's really good. For me, not high school. High school, some kids read, but high school was kind of like, from personal experience, very niche. There was a certain type of people that read, and they were usually women. I didn't really see a lot of guys reading at a certain point in time. They got into video games, they got into anime, they might read subtitles if they read anime. Even now, when I look on Instagram, reading and writing both seem to be dominated by the women's sphere. I don't really understand how to get a lot of more guys to read, because us sitting down and being patient with things. Yo, bro, I'm talking to you. Back up. Sorry. I'm sitting next to a grill and my son's playing with the ashes inside the grill. It's just, I don't feel like giving him a bath this early in the day. Go play, man. You hot? You want to go inside soon? Such a little trooper. He's out here playing by himself. He's just doing so well besides playing with the grill. I apologize for that. Do those reading programs and reward systems still exist in high schools? Do either of you know? Yes, no, maybe so.
I was asking my granddaughter, but she hasn't been to a classroom setting for a year because of COVID. So she starts back in August, I believe, in a school setting. She's been doing homeschooling, but she reads a lot. But my son is 46, and when he was just a baby, I had phonetics records playing for him. And then when he was old enough to look at books, I would read the books to him until he memorized the books. And he would turn the pages and he would say it out loud. You would think he was reading at like age 2 and 3, but he was actually reciting the books from memory. but books were very important to him, and he would fall asleep reading. And so he continued reading all his life. So I think it's important to teach children to love to read, to love books. But a lot of it has to do with family dynamics. And families in America are not healthy. A lot of them are just not healthy. And I see that a lot. Yeah, I see that a lot in my karate classes that I teach. The kids today are much different from kids just 20 and 30 years ago.
So
We used to get kids in the classes, and we could just show them technique, and they could look at us and follow the techniques. But now we have to take their body parts and move their body parts the way we want them to go to try and teach them what to do. They don't know what to do with their own bodies. And I think that's from, too many video games and too much TV, and not really exercising their minds and their bodies in other ways. Yeah, right.
I agree 1,000%. And now that you said that, it strikes up like, I don't know, I was really wrestling in like about a decade ago or so. But that was a very big thing, is a lot of guys did not have that kind of mind-body connection. They didn't really have the ability to really visualize what they were doing on the mat, because it felt like the two worlds were completely disconnected from them. It's like everything that we do now is so out of body or disembodied that, once again, we spend a lot of time in the computer. We're not physically moving our body. We can live our entire lives for days on end without even moving a real muscle besides our fingers. We can look at television and see other people doing things, see other people acting out actions, but it's a lot different when you're being a kid. I would say, I don't know, I'm gonna summarize it because we're actually running up our time. We have about a little over 5 minutes left. So we're right at that mark. But my mom told me something yesterday, because I bring my son outside every day, is that she was reading a report that a lot of kids don't play outside anymore. So a lot of kids aren't even moving their bodies. They're not even really active. So that would really exasperate the problem that you're talking about, Linda, is that if the kids aren't, it's like going to karate class or going to swim class are the only times that the kids are actively moving their bodies. These kids don't have a very comfortable relationship with their physical form or with their physical body. That has to be really rough for a lot of kids growing up today, because you used to just let your kids outside and they would play all day, then they come home and they're tired. Now kids stay up all night playing video games, and I don't know. But we have about 5 minutes left. If either of you have any closing thoughts or ideas. That was a hardcore shopping tip, Deja. I am impressed by that. Go ahead.
I think that the gift of writing is a God-given gift. And what do you think is the responsibility of authors to give people meaningful things to read instead of just something to sell?
That's huge. That's like super duper huge. Is that, yeah, a lot of authors, they just kind of write, they feed into the entertainment aspect of it. And they could very easily just watch Power, watch Empire. I'm speaking from like an urban fiction perspective, to kind of gain some of those things or gain some of those ideas in life. There's not a lot of authors that I see that write the solution or write to heal people or write to fix people's situations. They might write to bring light to certain situations or write to bring light to certain topics or write for solidarity. But I don't know, that's the main form of why I wanted this meeting, is as three authors, two authoresses, one author, I guess. What is our responsibility? Do we just write to make money? Do we just write for notoriety and for fame? Or are we responsible for solving the problem? Go ahead,
And we did some
Just touching on what Linda's saying,
please.
me and I had like I would say a brief month where it was like that. Other writers put pressure on you. So like for me, like she said, it's a God-given gift. I could just write, been able to. I feel like writers, when social media and other people play a big part into, oh, well, I released this many books, or how many books did you know, it's not a competition right at your own pace. But are you putting the quality into this? What are you wanting to get from your readers? And I had to go back to this for myself, like reading, writing was just for me to release what was all in my mind and lessons that I want people to get. So at the end of my book, I make sure to put like the lesson, or I'll put questions at the end of it. What did you feel about on this? What did you feel about on that? And then most of my most of my readers are in prison. So for me to get in contact with my readers, I either have to write them or they have to write me. And I asked them like, okay, did you feel like, you learned something from this? That's the biggest point for me as a writer. Did my readers learn something from this? Was this something where they could look at, somebody and be like, oh, I went through that, or this was the lesson I got from that? Not just me writing just because, I'm trying to sell. You're going to do something, put your passion into it. If you're going to do it just for money, the quality is never going to be with whoever you're trying to compete with, or whoever you done seen make millions or thousands or make a lot of money off of writing. It would never reach that level because you're in it for the wrong reasons.
It's also very hard to make a lot of money off of writing books. I feel like there's like an E.T. the Hip Hop Preacher quote, and he's speaking to, I think it's Zig Ziglar or Brian Tracy. He's speaking like one of the big name motivational speakers. And E.T. had just wrote his book. He's just getting into it. He's from Chicago. E.T.'s never been in an environment where people were reading books or writing books like that. He thought it was amazing. And the quote was, "You're still just writing books?" Is that a lot of people get into authorship to make a lot of, that's like the number one thing that I hear when authors are asking for advice, is that they're asking, how do I make money off of my books? And you don't make money off of your books. You make the money off the book. Oh my God. You make money off the doors that your books open for you. Imagining to get like a $10,000 royalty check every single month from Amazon is highly unrealistic unless you're selling tens of thousands of copies every single month, which is going to be very difficult to do unless you have a huge marketing budget or a huge, massive reach following. Most authors make their money by buying their own books and reselling their books. But I just see a lot of authors that get into this for the wrong reason. Just to go back to your point, Deja, but foremost to Linda's question, what's our responsibility as an author? I don't see a lot of authors entering into this arena with the right mindset or with the right mentality that's going to build them up for success or help them reach a lot of people. A lot of them don't get into this to help humanity. A lot of them don't get into this to be great at what they do. I think being great at your craft is going to supersede the money or supersede fame or anything else like that. I'm going to cut myself short for a bit because we only have less than a minute left. So any quick closing thoughts, or if you two just want to say goodbye or let people know where to find you, we can try to shoot for the conversation like this in a week or two. Because this was very productive for me. I learned a lot from both of you ladies, and I really appreciate you joining me today. So either one of you, if you have any closing thoughts, we have less than a minute left.
I appreciate being with you two today, and I wish you lots of success and happiness.
Likewise. Thank you so much for your insight today, Linda. Deja, likewise for you. If you have any other closing thoughts.